Yeah, I'm the last of the triple threat of Essex researchers you've got back to back to back. Yeah. So yeah, I'm Joe. I'm going to talk to you today about the work we're doing looking at the O group seabass, and specifically the spawn timing. So look, you've seen this before, but just strap yourselves in because it's going to be a pretty high tech, pretty 3D-esque explanation of spawning coming up here, as you can see by this beautiful image. Seabass are aggregate spawners. They come together, they reach maturity at some point between 4 and 8 years old. They spawn, they aggregate between November and March. Traditionally held belief that they spawn in the English Channel. They do as adults do, they make eggs, their eggs float inshore. These eggs metamorphose into these juvenile fish. Juvenile fish follow some kind of queue into an estuary. Look at that, beautiful. They remain in there for 3 to 4 years old, somewhere around there, grow in these nurseries, and then exit and join their conspecifics out. So the bit that we're going to take a look at today is this part of the aggregation. When did these fish come together? When do they actually spawn to produce these eggs? And where, roughly? Both of these things we think may need reassessment moving forward. So yeah, the primary study aims, as I say, looking at this February, March, specifically in the northern stock, which is the kind of light blue here on the right. This is when those spawning, the fisheries closure period is. Are there any regional or annual differences in that? And is there any evidence of multiple spawning locations? So is it all in the English Channel, or can we have a look at some conjectural data and think, okay, maybe there is some evidence of multiple spawning locations other than the English Channel? So the methods, there's Howard. I think he showed me catching, so I thought I'd return the favor. There's Howard on the net down on Ursey Island. This is the sites we caught sea bass. Otoliths are extracted, and that's the ear bone, and prepped on the sagittal plane. There's two ways of prepping otoliths. One, you can take a really thin slice. We prep them as a whole, just coming down from the top, and they look something like this. So when they're prepped, we take an image. So that's core to edge on that sagittal plane. We do two things. We count the rings on that axis. These rings are deposited daily. So that's how you find exactly when a sea bass was born. So yeah, each one of those rings is a daily ring, a bit like a tree ring. The second thing we look at is this check mark here. And that's what we spoke about earlier. When those fish metamorphose, they quite clearly distinguish in the otolith growth where that happened, and that's what we take as a proxy for the estuarine settlement. So that's how you work out the pelagic duration. So the big take-home message from me is this plot here. There's 582 fish we've aged so far from England, Wales, and France, and you can see here there's quite a distinct difference between when the closure period is and when the actual fish are spawning. Here, there's 82% of spawning is occurring outside of that fisheries closure period. So quite significant, we think, in terms of when the actual closure period is and when the fish are actually spawning. So we then wanted to look at whether that's stable across time and space. So first of all, we'll take a look at time, and this is split into annual birth spawning dates. So you can see there's 2 colder overwintering and 2 warmer overwintering years. That's about a degree's temperature between them. And you can see here, it's actually still pretty stable despite the conditions that these fish have encountered over the winter. So that's, November to March. So when these fish are aggregating to spawn, seems to suggest that there isn't much variation there, depending on the temperature. And then over space, you can see here, we split it into France, England, and Wales. As you'd expect, the spawning does get later. The latest is observed in North Wales, but still, even for these fish down here in France, you can see we still estimate that the spawning is sort of late April. Same for England, and then peaking in early May in Wales. So that's the big message from this talk is does seem pretty clear that there is some disconnect here between when the fish are spawning and when the fisheries closure period is. So just quickly talking about the pelagic duration, what we wanted to quickly sort of hypothesize is whether we think that there is spawning further than where the putative spawning ground is, which is the traditionally held belief that fish are spawning in the Eastern Channel. This is the pelagic duration, so this is quite novel data. In actual fact, what we see is the shortest pelagic duration is here in the eastern nursery areas. Just some conjectural data to say, you know, should we believe that if all the fish are spawning here in this putative ground, would they be arriving in the eastern nurseries quickest? I think that's probably unlikely. So I think some modeling data in the future, maybe something like what Jenny's doing will hopefully show us, you know, is there more spawning happening than what's down here in the left. So yeah, just to quickly sum up, this is me. I fish. You've probably seen this photo before. That's my PV, 79 centimeters. Happy to talk to anybody about that later on. Yeah, we do think there is a temporal mismatch between the closure period and the actual peak spawning. That was supported recently by a paper by Kirsty Bradley at CFAS, looking at the gonosomatic index. As we said in previous talks, it's likely to become a more important UK fishery, and so this may require reassessment. And yeah, we're going to increase that sample size again this year, just add another year and see if that's stable. And then, yeah, Jenny and Harriet, who Ian is about to talk to, looked at some particle tracking models, which we're hoping to look at, and the otolith core chemistry. So, whistle-stop tour from me. Thanks to everybody. I'll point you to this paper by Nils here. This is the French fish, looking at larval dispersal using otolith chemical signatures. And that's me, yeah, cheers. Thanks.